team, I hope you're all well. Today I am going to be doing my July wrap up. I will be doing August split in two, so there will be another one of these coming very, very soon for halfway through August. But I have been resisting doing this because once I'd taken my wrap up picture for Instagram, I put all my books back on my shelves and I completely forgot that I hadn't done my wrap up. So we're going to do it now. Read 26 things in the month of July and a lot of them were very, very good. So let's get into it. I will probably try and be very brief in my description of these books because there's quite a few and it's really, really, really warm and I'm sweating. So let's try and get through this as quickly as possible. The first thing that I read was this very, very short, don't even know, would you call it a novella? I'm not sure what a novella counts as, but very short story from Josie Jaffrey, which is Killians Dead, and this gives a very, very brief introduction into the main characters of Mayday. So it's very, very good. It gives a brief introduction into Jack, who is our sort of detective. She's a vampire, but she's like a detective as well, and it also gives a brief introduction into Killian as well. I think he's called Killian. Yeah, fairly certain he's called Killian. So yeah, I love this. Thought it was great. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. It was really nice to sort of get this very quick backstory into Jack's mind and how she actually became, this is her story of how she actually became a vampire. It's very, very good. Highly recommend picking this up before you pick Mayday up, but I don't think it's necessary. But yeah, if you can get your hands on it, I would pick it up. There's only 500 of them and mine is signed as well. So thanks to Josie for sending me a copy of this over, and then also thanks to Josie for sending me a copy of Mayday over as well. Oh, I gave Killian's Dead 4 out of 5 stars. Mayday then goes on to follow Jack while she is investigating a series of murders, and this is the first in the Seekers book. This is an adult vampire story. There is a little bit of romance in here. It's really good. Jack is bisexual as well, so it's queer as well, and I highly recommend trying this story out. Josie really knows how to write vampire stories. She's already got 2 vampire series going at the moment. She's got the Solace Invicti series, which actually is finished. It's 4 books long, and then she's got the Sovereign series as well, which is 3 books long, and I think that one's finished as well now. So this is the start of a new series, which is the Seekers series, and they all sort of follow around a similar sort of, they're all set in London, and basically I realised partway through this book that we are coming across 1 or 2 characters that are in the other series, that are in the Solace Invicti series and the Sovereign series, and I was so excited when that happened that I had to message Josie and be like, Josie, I'm trying to figure out the timeline here. It turns out Mayday actually comes before chronological order. Mayday comes first. So it's Mayday, then Solace Invicti series, and then the Sovereign series, but you don't need to read them in that order. If anything, I would probably recommend you don't, because I love the way that this sort of threw me back in time a little bit, and I was like, oh, I'm really confused here because this is set in the same place as the Solace Invicti series, but a lot has happened in that series and the world is completely different in that series, and it's because this is set prior to that series coming out, so to all of that happening. So I love this series. Highly recommend picking this up if you are into your vampire stories. You want your adult vampire stories as well. 5 out of 5 stars. I'm obsessed with Josie's writing. I will literally read anything she writes. She's got a new book coming out at the end of this month, or does it come out next month? Either way, very excited indeed. The cover's gorgeous. Then I read Loveless by Alice Oseman. I'll show a picture of it here because I don't own it. I managed to get an e-arc from NetGalley, so thank you to them for sending me a copy of this. I loved this, thought it was fantastic, gave it 5 out of 5 stars. This is following a girl who goes to uni. She's very, very shy, and she is trying to figure out herself as well as her sexuality and things like that. Her best friend is a lesbian, and she has this other best friend who's a guy who is completely in love with her, and she has no idea. She's trying to figure out herself out, and when she goes to the open day at uni one day, she goes to have a look, you know, at the societies that you can join and things like that. One of the societies is actually like an LGBTQ plus queer society, and she ums and ahs about whether or not to join because she doesn't think that she falls under that umbrella. But as it turns out, as you go through the book, it turns out she's learning a lot about herself, and this book is perfect for those of you that are aces. So definitely check this book out. I saw myself quite a bit in this book and I really enjoyed it for that reason. I think that NetGalley, the publishers, haven't done a great job with making sure this gets in the hands of Own Voices to review before anybody else. So yeah, just really hope that those of you who are Own Voices will absolutely love this, because it's fantastic. I love Alice Oseman's writing style. She's really great, and I will pick up pretty much anything else she comes out with. It was awesome. 5 out of 5 stars. Then I read Ruth Toppers as part of a read along with Tandem. This is by Catherine Rundell. So thank you to Tandem and to Bloomsbury Children for sending me a copy of this. This is a middle grade. It's fantastic. We are following Sophie, who was orphaned in a shipwreck. Well, that's what she's been told anyway, but Sophie's pretty convinced that her mother's still alive. She ends up being adopted, not officially, but by this guy, and he takes care of her, but unfortunately the system wants to take her out of his care. So they run away to Paris because she's fairly certain that that's where her mother lives. So they run away to Paris in the hope that they can try and find her mother. He actually believes the story that she was shipwrecked as an orphan, because that's where he found her, on the beach, and there was a shipwreck. So he believes that story, but he also believes that Sophie believes that her mother's alive. So he runs along with it, and then she ends up meeting this boy who lives on the roofs of in Paris. He gets around by running on the rooftops, hence the name Ruth Toppers, and he shows her a part of the world that she wasn't expecting to see. Like, imagine being able to see Paris from the rooftops. It must be amazing. And the investigation goes forward to try and find her mother. It's really good. I had a great time with it. It's a lot of fun, just so beautifully well done, and I just love the little illustrations on every chapter as well. Just very beautiful. Catherine Rundell's writing's fantastic. I had a really good time with it. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Then I read The Light Within Us by Charlotte Betts. Thank you to Frankie from Little Brown for sending me a copy of this. I really enjoyed this. There was a part, I think maybe I got halfway through this and thought, oh my god, what am I reading? This is not up my street at all. It's definitely like family drama type book, but set in 1891. It's set in Cornwall at a house called Spindrift House, and basically we are following a group of people who, we're following Edith more so, but we do follow some of the other characters as well. She ends up falling in love with this man who owns a house in Cornwall called Spindrift House. They all end up going down there with a few, well, when them two have got married, they end up going down there with a few of their friends, and they're all artists, whether they make things or they paint. Most of them paint, and they end up going down there and sort of turning this into a bit of a studio. And then some stuff goes down in which Edith finds something out about her husband, and she ends up sleeping with somebody else and falls pregnant with his child. Now she stays with her husband and lets him think that his child, her child is his, and he ends up she ends up falling pregnant a few more times, and then he's just a bit of a dick, and I don't like him at all. He's an asshole and he treats her like shit. So yeah, we just kind of follow this family dynamic. There's a lot of drama going on in here. There are a lot of secrets that are revealed, but I just really enjoyed the way it all came together in the end. I thought it was fantastic. The women in here are the strongest women I've sort of ever come across. Like, Edith is fantastic. Clarissa and Dora are great as well. We get their views as well. They've got their own stories going on, more so Clarissa than Dora, but I just thought it was really good the way it was done, and I really do highly recommend this if you are into, you know, like your older type books. So 1891, this only came out this year, but set in 1891, but yeah, and your family drama type books as well. It's not a thriller by any means, but it's just really good, and I really enjoyed it. I had a great time with it, and I'm really looking forward to the next one in the series as well, because I really want to try and find out what happens to these people, because I just really hyped for it. It was really good. I was expecting, I don't know what I was expecting from it when I went into it, but halfway through I was not expecting good things. I didn't think it was going to be a great review, but towards the end, really enjoyed it. 4 out of 5 stars. Then I read A Whisper in the Dark by Jessie Elliott and KJ Sutton, which is the first in the Charlie Travesty series. This is another vampire series. It's a novella, so it was like 92 pages long or something. It's a collection of 4 novellas that sort of come together to make one whole story about Charlie Travesty, who is a vampire princess. I can't tell you too much about this series because if I do, I basically tell you the whole story. So yeah, something happens and she ends up no longer being a princess and she has to find her way. Essentially, that's the essentials of what happened, and it's really, really good. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. Really enjoyed the writing style, enjoyed the vampire side of things. They also have weepers in this as well, which is kind of like they're kind of like zombies, if you like, which is really weird because the only time I've come across weepers is in Josie Jaffrey's series. So yeah, just really enjoyed it. It was a great time. Then I read Binti by Nnedi Okorafor. I think that's how you pronounce it. Anyway, I'm not sure, but I read Binti. I listened to it. No, I didn't. I listened to it on audio. It was okay. I think I wanted more from it. It's a novella again, but I think I wanted more from it. This is following a girl who ends up coming across an alien species that she wasn't expecting. She's trying to get to like this prestigious school in space or something, and she ends up coming across an alien species, and I think she's been led to believe all her life that they would kill her, and they end up not doing, and some other stuff goes down. In all honesty, I got really confused with it. I wasn't sure what was happening. I think it could have done with more time to explain what was happening. It was all very fast. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. I think the premise is sort of there, but I just kind of lost it a little bit and didn't really get it, which is a shame. Not sure whether or not I'll carry on with the series, we'll have to see. But yeah, I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. Then I read Motor Crush Volume 1. I gave this 4 stars. It is a graphic novel and I really enjoyed this. This has been described to me. I found this initially through Tori's YouTube channel from Medusa Reads, and I really enjoyed it. It was then recommended again by Jessie from Bow Ties and Books, so I really had a great time with this. This is following a girl who rides motorbikes. I can't remember all the names, the characters' names, I'm sorry. Following a girl who races basically, and there is this thing called Crush, which is kind of like a drug a little bit, but you can put it in your motorbike. I assume it's a little bit like NOS, and it makes your bike go a bit faster, but you can also take it as a human, but most people die when they take it. However, our girl, she doesn't appear to do so, so she's got like an asthmatic problem as well. She takes an inhaler, and that's how she sort of inhales the Crush. She only finds that out partway through the graphic novel. But this is queer. It's like, basically it's a little bit like Fast and Furious, queer Fast and Furious, but on motorbikes. It's fantastic. I had an amazing time with this. Like I said, I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I definitely want to carry on with the series. It was so good. It was like a rush reading it. So yeah, I had a really good time. Love the art style as well. It was so good. Then I read The Kiss Quotient by Helen Huang. I really enjoyed this. I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. I've already read The Bride Test by Helen Huang, as usual, not realising that's the second in a series, but I love this. I kind of want to reread The Bride Test now though, because the Bride Test kind of follows Kai, whereas Kai's sort of like a side character in this series. So this is following Stella and also Michael. Stella has Asperger's syndrome and she wants a relationship. She's of an age now, she's like in her 30s I think. She's of an age now where she wants a relationship. She's very independent, unbelievably clever. She's really high up in the company that she works for, and she makes a lot of money, but she doesn't know what to do with herself. So she basically works and sleeps, and that's it. She doesn't live much because of her Asperger's. She's just very socially awkward and things like that. So she hires a male escort, who is Michael, to try and show her how to be better in the bedroom. Essentially, that's what she wants from him. But this kind of turns into a fake dating relationship type thing. She ends up wanting to learn how to date as well. She realizes it's not just about sex. She needs to know how to date somebody as well and actually be in a relationship. And yeah, fake dating, my favourite trope of all time. I had a blast with this. I thought it was fantastic. I think the way, obviously, I don't know personally, but I think the Asperger's rep in here was fantastic as well. It was, I think it was really well done, but I wouldn't know that from a personal side of view. From my perspective is only, you know, just a side perspective. I do not have Asperger's, so I wouldn't know that own voices, but I think it was really well done. I love the way that Michael kind of dealt with that. He didn't know through most of this book. It's only towards the end he actually finds out she's got Asperger's, but he did not know at all. And it's only when Stella kind of ends up accidentally telling one of Michael's friends, I think it's his best friend, but his best friend has a cousin called Kai who has Asperger's as well. He's on the autism spectrum as well, and he is the main focus of the next book. So that's how Kai kind of comes into this. So he kind of picks up, you know, on her little quirks and things like that, that things that she might say that Kai would probably say, that he picks up that she's on the autism spectrum, and he notices, and she's like, you can't tell Michael and all this lot. So Michael doesn't know for the most part of this, but never once does he sit there and think to himself, my God, this girl is weird, or, you know, God, that's a strange thing to say. Why would she say something like that? Never once does he judge her for some of the things she does or says, which would probably, to anybody that doesn't, from an outsider's perspective, would deem very strange. And never once did he say anything like that. Never once did he think it. And I think it's probably just him being around. He never picked up on the fact that she was on the autism spectrum, but by being around Kai, maybe he just naturally didn't think these things were strange. I'm not sure, but I just thought it was fantastic the way it's written, everything about it. I will pick up anything else from Helen Hong from this point on, but I really want to reread The Bride Test. But yeah, I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. It was great. Then I read Police Ambulance Fire Truck, I'm not sure. Then I read Mortal Instruments Volume 1. This is the graphic novel for the Mortal Instruments. I thought this was great. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. I'm not a huge fan of the art style, only because I have an image in my head of what the characters look like, and it's not this. Whereas obviously this is what the characters should look like in Cassie's head. Is what the characters look like in Cassie's head. The characters to me look like they do in the Shadowhunters series on Netflix. So for example, just one of the main ones that's very, very different obviously is would be Luke. For example, this is Luke in the graphic novel, very blatantly a white guy, whereas in the series he is a black guy. I love Isaiah, who plays Luke. I will show a picture of him here. He's fantastic. Just love him as a person in general. I love watching the interviews that he's in, because he's just really fun and childlike to be around. I just think he's a great guy. So I thought this was great. Actually, it's a really good adaptation, and I'm looking forward to continuing on with the rest of the graphic novels, because I think I have them all now for this series. And thank you to Suzanne as well from Book Marvel for sending me this. I had a good time with it. Then I read Goldie Vance Volume 1, which is a graphic novel. Again, another queer graphic novel. This is following Goldie Vance, who is basically, her dad runs a hotel. He is the manager of the hotel. He doesn't own it, and she's constantly getting herself in shit. And there is, she wants to be like a detective. She loves mystery. She wants to be like a detective. She's got a crush on the girl behind the desk, and there's a lot going on in this. I really enjoyed it. Something goes down in the hotel. It ends up getting Goldie and her dad fired from the hotel. They have to move out, but she wants to investigate the problem and exactly what happened, and she ends up solving it all. And it was really good, and I want to continue the series. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Really enjoyed the art style. It was great. Then I reread A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. I'm not going to waste time going through this, because it's the second in the series. It's about Faye, and there's a lot going on. Romance. Just amazing. I love it. Read the series if you haven't already, because it's fantastic. Akamath is my favourite in the series as well. 5 out of 5 stars. Then I read There's Something About Sweetie by Sandia Menon. This is the second in the Dimple and Rishi series. So this series, basically, the first series follows Dimple and Rishi. This one follows Ashish, who is Rishi's brother, and Sweetie, who is the girl that basically, in Dimple and Rishi, they get set up by their parents, so actually arranged marriage. So that goes through the motions of them sort of getting to know each other and all of this lot. It's really good, and I really loved it. And we got to meet Ashish in that series. Now Ashish ends up dating one of Dimple's friends towards the end of that book, and things don't go as planned. He ends up heartbroken at the beginning of this book, and then he gets an idea from one of his friends, who's a little bit of an idiot, that maybe he should ask his parents to try and set him up with someone. Obviously not for arranged marriage, because he's younger. I think he's about 16 or 17, and he decides to go for it. Parents, can you set me up with somebody, and all this lot. So they set him up with Sweetie, who is a curvy girl. She is not your usual type of girl. She is fat, but she is a runner. She runs track and she's fantastic. I just love her. She's so confident in herself. But this is the typical, you know, mother is a cow with daughter because of her weight and is constantly badgering her to lose weight. Even though she runs track, she's the fastest on the track team. She's really, really fit. She's just fat as well. Her mother will not let her forget it, and she forces Sweetie to train for like an extra hour or two when she gets home from school. She has to run around the backyard and things like that. It's just bullshit, and I fucking hated her mother so much. Really hated her mother in this. But this is the story of Ashish and Sweetie meeting and then falling in love, and it's just adorable. Ashish literally just does not see the things that Sweetie's mum sees and the things that Sweetie's mum puts in Sweetie's head, and that Ashish, there's no way Ashish is going to love you. He's on the basketball team and he's going to college. He's going to be, you know, professional basketball. He's going to be an NBA player and all this lot. And he's never going to love you because you don't look like what somebody should look like to be with Ashish. And it's just bullshit. It really pisses me off. But this book, the writing style is fantastic. Gave it 5 out of 5 stars. I loved it so much. It was so good. And then following on from that, I read Love at First Fight, which is a novella following immediately on from this, where there's basically a double date between Ashish and Sweetie and Rishi and Dimple. They are going to a escape room basically on Valentine's Day, and they end up bumping into the bit of an idiot friend that I was talking about of Ashish's. I can't remember his name. And then Pinky, one of Ashish's best friends. And the next book is going to be 10 Things I Hate About Pinky, which I think is following Pinky and then that guy. So yeah, but I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. I didn't like the original novella, which is As Kismet Would Have It, which was Dimple and Rishi's original novella. I wasn't a huge fan of that one, but I gave this one 4 stars. Thought it was really, really good. A lot of fun. Then I read In Case You Missed It by Lindsay Kelk. This is the latest book from Lindsay, and I will literally pick up anything Lindsay writes. She could write the phone book and I would pick it up. I love this. 5 out of 5 stars. We're following Roz, who is, I think she's like early 20s now, and she's coming back from the States. She got fired from a job for whatever reason. She's coming back from the States to move back in with her parents and try and sort her life out. She is stuck in the past though, in her head. So she used to be engaged. Was she engaged? She used to be in a relationship with this guy called, I can't remember what his name is. She used to be in a relationship with this guy, and she used to go out with her mates every weekend and get pissed and all this lot. Anyway, she comes home to her parents. Her parents have basically bought her an entire bedroom and a massive shed in the back garden because they want to continue to be able to live their lives and, you know, have sex and all this lot. They seem to have rekindled their romance. Roz's younger sister is like a pure genius. She's moved out and everything, and Roz ends up living in this shitty shed in the bottom of the garden. And her life is no longer the same. Obviously she's not dating the same guy anymore. She gets a new phone. She texts everybody, all of the numbers that are in sort of like the cloud. She texts them all to let them know she's got a new phone and she's back and she would like to hook up for a drink. And her ex-boyfriend messages her back. And she starts to wonder whether or not she could date him again. Essentially, they broke up when she made the decision that she was going to move to the States. And she starts to wonder whether or not she can continue, whether or not to continue dating him. Date him again. I'm not sure. Anyway, this sort of goes through the motions of one of her best friends is having a baby. The best friends is gay. She also meets a new guy at one of the new bars that her friends are now going to. And it's just going through the process of Roz trying to get out of her head and remember that things are not as they used to be. She wants them to go back to how they were, but she just very slowly but surely throughout this book comes to the realization that things as they used to be were actually pretty shit, and she wants them to be better. So I really enjoyed this. I really enjoyed where it was going. I liked that the character was my age. I just managed to associate with a lot of the things that she was going through. Really enjoyed it. Very, very good. Highly recommend picking anything up by Lindsay. Then I read The Extraordinaries by TJ Klune. This is a queer superhero book. I don't know what more you want from a book. This is following Nick, who is gay and has a crush on the sort of superhero in town who is Shadow Star. And then there is an anti-hero. That's not the right word. And why can I never remember this word? you know, like a villain, Pyrostorm, and basically Nick sort of writes fan fiction about these two, queer fan fiction about these two, and it's really, really good. The fan fiction elements I wasn't a huge fan of, but the rest of the story was fantastic, and I didn't realise at the time that this was the start of a series. It's going to be a trilogy, I think. I'm so excited to hear more about this. The Extraordinaries are the superheroes, and obviously the villain as well. There's only 2 of them that I'm aware of, so Shadowstar and Pyrostorm, but Nick's got a best friend as well called Seth, who is very clearly in love with Nick. Nick's got no fucking idea. He's so blind to it, it's not even funny, because he's obsessed with Shadowstar, and it's all he can ever think about. So really enjoyed this. Nick has also got another couple of best friends as well who are lesbians, and I just love how queer this book is. It's so fucking queer, and Nick's dad is a cop as well, so I just really, really enjoyed that. Nick's dad is everything. He's hilarious, you know, like Charlie Swan from the Twilight Saga, who's just the funny cop dad who isn't trying to be funny, but he's just funny anyway. Nick's dad, the exact same thing. I just really, really enjoyed this. It was fantastic. Highly recommend picking this up. I'm definitely going to try more from TJ Klune. I really want to try the House on the Cerulean Sea. So yeah, looking forward to continuing on with more from him. I gave that 4 out of 5 stars as well. Then I read Destroy Me by Tahira Mafi, which is a novella. This is a collection of 2 novellas from the Shatter Me series. Destroy Me is following Warner, who is one of the main characters from the series, and it's just following his sort of a part of his story after Shatter Me. So I really enjoyed this. I liked the way it was done. It was very cleverly done. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. I actually feel a bit more for it now that I have read Unravel Me though, which is the next in the book, because the scene that you get from this novella is actually then in Unravel Me a bit later on, and at that point I really enjoyed getting both perspectives from Warner and Juliet on this, because they were separated and you got both perspectives from it. I just thought it was very well done. 4 out of 5 stars. Highly recommend picking it up. Then I read the On Honeymooners by Christina Lauren. This is a fake dating situation where Olive and Amy are twins. Basically Amy's getting married and Olive is the unlucky one in life, and Amy's the very lucky one in life. Amy's constantly applying for competitions and stuff, constantly winning things. She basically wins her entire wedding, and she wins a honeymoon to Hawaii and everything. So Amy's getting married to, I think he's called Dwayne, I can't remember the name of him, but his name's not on the back of here, or Duncan, something like that, begins with a D anyway. It should be Dick, but anyway, distractions. They're getting married and Olive has to play nice with her nemesis, who is Ethan, who is the best man. Now at the wedding there is a buffet for the food, essentially. You know how you usually have a meal, they have a buffet. Ethan doesn't like buffet food, he's really picky, and for whatever reason Olive hasn't had that food either. Everybody at the wedding immediately gets food poisoning, gets very, very sick, and Olive and Ethan are the only 2 that don't. Amy says to Olive that she should go on the honeymoon, she'll get away with it, because the twins essentially, it's just that Olive is a bit curvier than Amy, and she is a little bit self-conscious of this as well. Amy says that Olive should go on the honeymoon. The Dick guy, I can't remember what his name is, Dick, she recommends to Ethan that he should go on the honeymoon, and what they don't realise is that the 2 of them are going to end up going on the honeymoon together, and they eventually agree to go on the honeymoon together, and basically it's fake dating. Enemies to lovers. I really loved this. I thought it was fantastic. The writing style's great. I love Christina Lauren's writing style. The duo are so good. Apparently I only gave this 4 stars. Can't remember why. Maybe it's probably in a reading rush video somewhere. Go check it out if you want to know the reasons why, because I can't remember. This is why you should make notes, guys. This is why you should make notes. If I can remember, I'll just very quickly write it here. Then I read A Light in the Dusk by Jessie Elliott and KJ Sutton. This is the second in the Charlie Travesty series. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Again, can't tell you really what goes on with that, because it's the next in the series and also it's a novella, so it would ruin it. We're just continuing on with the Charlie Travesty series. Then I read The War of the Worlds. This is Jeff Wayne's The War of the Worlds, the musical drama. So this is the story essentially told It's the story by H.G. Wells, but essentially it's a musical drama adaptation that Jeff Wayne has done. So obviously Jeff Wayne has written the CD for the War of the Worlds, which I'm obsessed with. I've been to see War of the Worlds live in concert. It's fantastic. Highly recommend if it comes to a town near you soon. Well, it won't be very soon, but at some point in the future. Now, this adaptation was great. We had Michael Sheen, we had Taron Egerton, we had Jeff Wayne's wife. She was in it as well. We also had, I can't remember his name, but he plays Thor in Divergent. I'll show a picture of him here. So we had quite a few people in this, and I really enjoyed the musical drama, the adaptation. It was so good. Really loved the music in the background. I was constantly singing the lyrics to the music because it just showed, it played the music, it didn't play the lyrics. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was a good time. I highly recommend. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. Then I read Unravel Me by Tahira Mafi. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. This is my favourite so far of the Shatter Me series. I really enjoyed this. We just continue to follow Juliet in this story, and also Warner and Adam, and a lot happened in this. I really enjoyed this. This is basically following Juliet, who has got this power in her that basically if somebody touches her they will die, and there is a re-establishment who basically sort of run the whole place, but they do it badly. Warner's dad runs the re-establishment, but Warner's kind of like the guy that's in charge a little bit. Bear in mind Juliet's like, I think she's about 17 or 18, and similarly with Warner and Adam as well. Adam is somebody who was working for Warner, but there's other stuff going down as well. There is also a rebellion as well. So a lot's going on in this series. It's like a dystopian type novel, and I really enjoy it. I'm having a great time with this series. Didn't expect that I would, but I am loving this so far. And I just think there's a lot going on in this that I really enjoyed. I really got into this story massively in this book. It's fantastic. I can't wait to continue on with the series. Had a great time. 4.5 stars. Then I read Mr. Malcolm's List by Suzanne Orlean. It's like a fresh take on a Regency romance. This is my first ever Regency romance. We're following Mr. Malcolm, and we're also following Selena, and basically Mr. Malcolm is dating this girl who is a bitch, and I don't like her. And because he's got this list of what he wants out of a woman in his life, she doesn't fit the bill. And he takes her out on one date, she doesn't fit the bill, and that's it. He's not taking her out again. But obviously this is like Regency romance, so it's back in the day, and it's like courting and all of that lot. So he doesn't call round to her home anymore. I don't know how it goes. This is my first dance with Regency romance. So then she decides to implore the help of one of her friends, Selena, to fall in love with Mr. Malcolm, and then at the very, well, to make Mr. Malcolm fall in love with her, and at the very last minute tell him that she's got a list and he doesn't fit the bill for the list, and ditch him, break his heart essentially, because she's a bitch and she's bitter. So anyway, Selena ends up meeting Mr. Malcolm at a ball one night when she's supposed to be meeting him, but she doesn't realise it's Mr. Malcolm. She doesn't realise it's the Mark. She reluctantly goes into this. She doesn't really want to do it. She reluctantly goes into it, and she ends up, the story basically ends up that they do end up liking each other, and it all comes to fruition, everything that happened, and then they go through the motions of, you know, sorting that out. It's very short. I enjoyed this. For my first dance with Regency romance, I had a good time with it. I gave this 3 out of 5 stars. I wasn't a huge fan of the initial woman in here. I cannot remember her name for the life of me, but I was not a fan of her at all. She was a cow, and I did not like her. Was it Julia? I think it was. Didn't like her at all. At all. Thank you to Frankie from Little Brown for sending me a copy of this as well. Then I read The Walking Dead volume 6. I don't know why I was going to say volume 1. Volume 6. I'll show a picture of it here. I have like a massive compendium of Walking Dead. I just can't be bothered holding it up, so I'll show a picture of The Walking Dead volume 6 here. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. This was brutal. If you know what I'm talking about, this is the one where Michonne gets some revenge, and it was fucking vile. Graphic, let me tell you. 4 out of 5 stars. I enjoyed it. Then I read Break Your Glass Slipper by Amanda Lovelace. This is a poetry collection, absolutely gorgeous poetry collection. I really enjoy Amanda Lovelace's poetry collections. The Princess Saves Herself in this one is my favourite, and Witch Doesn't Burn in this one is my least favourite. Mind you, I've only read 2 from her, so that would make sense. But I really enjoyed this one. This has got gorgeous illustrations in it, and it's all like blue, and it's just beautiful. This is kind of like a Cinderella retelling a little bit, but in poetry format, and it's just gorgeous. I really enjoyed this. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Quite a few really important poems in here. There's like a checklist that you could go back through for self-care. Just some really important things kind of dealt with in here, and I just really enjoyed it. I highly recommend picking it up. Then I read Black Enough, which is edited by Ibby's a Boy but written by a collection of YA authors, and I had a great time. This is stories of being young and black in America, and some of the authors that are in here are Renee Watson, Lamar Giles, Jason Reynolds, Tochi Onyebuchi, Tracy Baptiste, Danielle Clayton, Nick Stone, Ibby's a Boy. I just had a really good time with this. It was so good. So obviously it's a collection of short stories, and just some really important things were said in here. But I think it's really important for Own Voices reviews of this as well, so please do and go check them out. I think the target audience for this could be just about anybody, to be perfectly honest. It shows a lot of different things. So it does show the racism of growing up in America black. It shows the oppressions, the microaggressions. It shows all those different things, and I just really enjoyed this. I thought it was very good, shocking in places, but really good. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. Highly recommend picking this one up. And then finally, the last book, thank Christ, I read City of Brass by S.A. Chakraborty. For a second my mind went blank and I had no idea who wrote this then. I really enjoyed this. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I'm currently very slowly making my way through Kingdom of Copper, but I really enjoyed this. So this is set in 18th century Cairo, and I really enjoyed that. I've never sort of read something set in Egypt before, and I really kind of enjoyed that element. I definitely got Aladdin vibes from this. I don't know if that's just me. There was a magical flying carpet, and then the next chapter was called Ali, and I couldn't stop singing Prince Ali, mighty is he, Ali Baba. So I just got Aladdin vibes very quickly in this book, which I don't mind because I love Aladdin, and it just fits the bill, to be perfectly honest. We're following Nahri and Ali in this, so we get 2 points of view from here, and I just really enjoyed it. I'm going to read the back to you because I don't really know how to explain it. It's quite complicated. There's a lot going on. In the markets of 18th century Cairo, thieves, tricksters, con artists and outcasts eke out a living, swindling rich nobles and foreign invaders alike. But alongside the new world, the old stories linger. Tales of jinn and spirits, of cities hidden among the swirling sands of the desert, full of enchantment, desires and riches, where magic pours down every street, hanging in the air like dust. Many wish their lives could be filled with wonder, but not Nahri. She knows the trades she used to get by are just tricks and sleights of hand. There's nothing magical about her. She only wishes to one day leave Cairo, but as the saying goes, be careful what you wish for. It's very good. I love the magical element in here as well. It's really good. 4 out of 5 stars. It's very good. So that's everything. I'm so glad that's over because I'm tired now. This took a lot longer than I thought it was going to. So yeah, that is my July wrap up. I had a really good time in July. I don't think there was a couple of 3 stars, but nothing too sinister. I really enjoyed everything. It was a good month. So I hope you have enjoyed this video. Please let me know in the comments down below if you've got any recommendations for me based on these books. I am always down for taking recommendations because apparently I don't have enough books on my shelves. So I shall see you next time. Bye for now.